Hello, everyone. I'm Ron Grant, coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. The government of the Virgin Islands will be facilitating a series of workshops and public consultation meetings to promote and improve turtle conservation in the territory. The meetings will be conducted in collaboration with the local nonprofit association of reef keepers and the United Kingdom-based Marine Conservation Society. Now, viewers, the data gathered will be critical in improving sea turtle conservation within the Virgin Islands. These very engaging workshops will be held on Tortola, Anegada, Just Van Dyke, and of course, Virgin Gorda, and will aid the territory in better understanding how the community feels about turtle fishing and conservation. Joining me today to discuss the initiative is Dr. Shannon Gore, Dr. Peter Richardson, and Ms. Kia Soares. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Is someone going to get that?
Hello.
Hello.
So nice of you to have cleaned up for us. Hi, baby.
We're like in-laws that don't show up unannounced.
Don't worry. I've got this.
CG Insurance. Good like that.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, I am joined by Dr. Peter Richardson to my far right, Ms. Kia Soares, and Dr. Shannon Gore.
Good morning.
Thank you all for having me. Welcome to our studios. It's absolute pleasure. As I mentioned, we are embarking on a very important project as it pertains to turtle conservation here in the territory. Engaging the public, getting feedback from them in regards to what and how they feel. Dr. Gore, I want to start with you. As mentioned, interested persons in sea turtle are invited to have their say and their views and really share their values as it pertains to this, for some, controversial topic, believe it or not. What are your thoughts on the hosting of this and how important it is to our society at this time?
The whole point of the project is to recover sea turtle populations, not just locally, but also regionally. And there's two parts to that have to happen, otherwise it'll never happen. One of it is to have the scientific information so that people can make informed decisions. And the second part is including the human dimension, because it is a natural resource. It is shared by a wide range of stakeholders. And if one entity was kind of managing it, then it's not going to be sustainable, because it's a top-down command and control type governance that is just not going to work with a shared resource.
Understood. Kia, I want to go with you. Give us a bit of a synopsis of the schedule of the public meetings, and I know they're going to begin today.
Sure. So we have a series of public screenings, and of course we'll be basically putting the screening out to the public at each of these locations coming up first, and then after all of the workshops are finished, we will be launching the video to everyone in the public. Tonight starts off at Bambouche Lounge. We have a viewing at 6:30 to 9:30 tonight. On Wednesday, the 19th of April, we have the viewing at the Eastern Community Center. That's from 6 to 9. Thursday, the 20th, is at Sappy's Restaurant in Carrot Bay. That's from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And then on Tuesday, we move to Anegada, and we have the workshop over there at the Emil Dunlop Community Center there. And that would be from 6 to 9. And then Virgin Gorda on Thursday, which is the 27th. It's at the St. Ursula Catholic Community Center. That's from 6 to 9. And then we wrap up for the last one at Foxy's Bar on Just Van Dyke, which will be from 6 to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, the 2nd of May.
Understood. Now, guys, this initiative encompasses a number of agencies that are partnering together. Give me a bit of a synopsis, Peter, on the number of different organizations that are playing a role in this particular initiative.
Okay, so this is a project called STEAL, which is short for Sustaining Turtles' Environment, Economies and Livelihoods. And it's a partnership project with the government of the Virgin Islands as kind of lead partner with the Association of Reef Keepers. And then in the UK, the Marine Conservation Society, who I work for, are supporting, along with the University of Exeter, who are providing sort of academic, technical advice. And the project started a couple of years ago. And the different partnerships, the different people in the partnership have sort of different roles. So the Association of Reef Keepers is coordinating all the biological research. the government is providing that sort of facilitation government, the government perspective and the permission and the oversight. And then the Marine Conservation Society is using a method called the community voice method, which is a way of meaningfully engaging with communities to get their input into conservation issues and come up with solutions. So what's happened, the workshops are kind of the latter stage of that process. We were here working with the partners a year ago, making a film, interviewing about 30 people with a vested interest in turtles, all sorts of different interests. So turtle fishermen, restaurants that sold turtle, dive operators, tourism interests, academic interests, the Parks Board, other government agencies. And from those interviews, we were able to provide a snapshot of how different people feel about turtles and what their vision is for turtles in the Virgin Islands. And then the sort of resulting film is what we're going to show at these workshops. And the film is really, doesn't tell you what to think. It provides lots of different perspectives from lots of different people. And then the workshops provide an opportunity for more people, a wider audience to come along and have their say. So the workshops will be presentation of the scientific information from Shannon, a viewing of the film, which shows like community perspectives on the issue, and then people are going to eat, we'll provide dinner, and then we're going to have a kind of discussion about what people want for turtles in Virgin Islands in the future. And then all of that information will be married with the science and the evidence to come up with recommendations to government about how they should manage their turtles in the future. And then it's up to government to take that forward.
Understood. Kia, I have to ask you a question as someone of the younger generation who is quite familiar with the water aquatic aspect of life. Was there any particular surprising feedback that you might have seen in the film? Anything that the public you think perhaps has some misconceptions?
From, I guess, my generation, I grew up with the whole fishing family and now working at the department with fisheries. It does have, of course, the controversy based off of, those who decide that turtles should not be harmed, they should be kept in the ocean, kept in the wild. And then you have all culture side of it for us, for different events who, it's like a main dish
course,
at
yes.
especially like Easter festivals, Christmas time and stuff like that. So I do think it's, I guess, a 50-50 between the two.
Understood.
I would like to see, us keep our culture, definitely, but then I would like to also encourage fishermen who are harvesting the data collection for these turtles so that we can maintain a sustainable fisheries for them as well.
Understood. Now, Dr. Gore, of course, you are covering the science research, but like Kia said, there are some controversial areas regarding the different perceptions and thought processes when it comes to the turtle conservation. What are your thoughts, and what are some of the issues that have come up on your end?
Well, like I said before, it's really about recovery.
Okay.
And one of the key points to that is our nesting populations. Without our nesting population, we're contributing to the decline of kind of the region-wide of numbers of turtles. And there's a lot of issues. There's lighting on the beach that deters the turtles from coming in to lay.
Okay.
There's, it's mostly lighting, I think, is the biggest issue. But even some of the foraging grounds, we're seeing things like anchor scarring, which that destroys their feeding habitat. So if there's no food for them, they're going to go somewhere else. So there's different things that we're doing, on land that are making a difference, the turtle. So it's really, there's kind of that, there's two sides to it, two very distinct sides. So.
Okay. Well, of course, we mentioned the film, but most importantly, additionally, I'd like the public to understand that along with the social and biological scientific evidence to inform legislative changes, which I think is most effective. Without legislative changes, without the support of legislations, it's very difficult to move anything forward. The changes, and particularly in the planned initiative for this year, is the input obtained from the integral community stakeholders will of course influence the sustainable management of the turtle conservation here in the Virgin Islands. The workshops are scheduled to commence, of course, as Kia said today, Monday, April 17th, and we will see the screening of a new documentary film entitled Turtles in the Virgin Islands. When we talk about, Dr. Gore, I have to go back to, you mentioned the total entire turtle harvesting. What do you think persons could simply do? You mentioned some key elements about beach lighting. Can we go a little bit more in depth to that? Because I don't think persons necessarily understand the importance and the role that we play just as citizens of the world in this regard. What should we be more aware of?
It's really about looking at the habitats that they live in or that they nest in. That's just right now. It just seems like any kind of environmental issues are kind of pushed aside, and we really need to go back to focusing on helping restore some of these habitats, just better protecting them. Things that people do that, like with the lighting. It's about changing a light bulb. That makes a world of a difference. So.
Wow. Kia, on your end at the Department of Agriculture, what do you want persons to be more aware of culturally as we embark on this series of workshops? And to the persons who would be coming out, what type of thinking would you like them to be exposed to?
I think the biggest issue right now is a lot of the public, a lot of the fishermen think that it's basically a secret if you catch the turtles, or if it's not supposed to be said. But that's not the case. Once you are a licensed and registered fisherman and you are granted the permission to catch these animals, the most we are asking for you from the department is the data back from them. It's something as simple as if you're harvesting the turtle, or if you know you want to harvest within the next week, you can simply call us at the department and say, listen, I'm going to set a net, or I'm going to go out and harvest turtle, and I should be back in here at a certain time. If you can't, a lot of fishermen don't have the time to sit and weigh or to sit and measure. If you give me a call, I can meet you at your landing spot. I can get the measurements, I can get the data, and it's as easy as that. But that's the biggest issue right now when it comes to culture-wise, because it's like, of course, you're not supposed to harvest or eat it out of season. But when it is in season, it's a free go.
Okay.
We just ask that anyone harvesting, of course, registered fishermen, that if any are caught with tags, those are the ones we actually need the data from. We like it from all, but especially if it was tagged before, because then that data helps us know from the time it was tagged or from when it was caught after being tagged to that date you catch it, how much it's grown, maybe how much it weighed, and we can even find out where you caught it so that we would know if it's actually staying in the same spot or it's changing locations as well.
Understood. I'm happy that you mentioned the tagging of turtles. Speak to that process as well for me. What is the purpose of it, and what does it essentially do for the data collection?
Well, that's actually Dr. Shannon's department, but I have worked closely with her. I've been out tagging. We go out to a couple of hotspots and we tag them. Some are already tagged and we just relog the data. Some we are fortunate to get new ones and actually do the whole tagging process. I think it's very important because then again it helps build the stock assessment towards that species, and then we'll be able to know if the fisheries is sustainable.
Understood. Dr. Go, can you tell me more in detail about that process?
Yeah, so the in-water tagging actually started about 20 years ago from a different project that I was working with Peter on. Kind of after all those years, we've identified very specific hotspots. So those are the places that we continually go back to. So we have 6 locations because you can't go out and catch every single turtle in the BVI. But we use those as these indicator locations. So if there's any changes in those locations, then we know something kind of a bigger picture is happening. So a really good example is 20 years ago, we used to catch a lot of hawksbills. Now all we're catching are greens. So there's been a shift in kind of the species distribution, which that's a really big thing, especially kind of with the data that I've seen, locally, there's a decline in the hawksbills, but it's also, we're seeing it regionally as well.
Okay. Peter, I'd like you to give some closing remarks to the general public on the importance of coming out and making sure that they are engaged and really participating in these series of workshops that have been organized.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand that with turtle conservation, it doesn't have to be one thing or another. You don't have to completely protect them or eat them all. There is a balance to be held. And like any fishery, so long as it's managed properly, it can be sustainable. So the idea really for these workshops and what we want people to come and contribute to is to give us some idea. We'll present potential management options for this resource, for these turtles. And we just want to find out what's acceptable, what people think will work here in the Virgin Islands. because we understand that, you know, some people love to eat turtle. It's a really healthy seafood. I like to eat turtle when I can and when it's in season.
Likewise.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the nicest things about coming to the Caribbean, I must say. But at the same time, you know, it has to be done properly. So Shannon's just mentioned that the hawksbill turtle is declining. That's it, that seems to be a problem. So does it make sense to catch hawksbill turtles when they're declining? Probably not. Green turtles, on the other hand, all the evidence suggests they're doing really, really well. And Shannon is catching a lot of green turtles. So as long as we protect the breeding adults so the population can be maintained, yeah, maybe we can still fish for green turtles. And there are certain measures that we could put in place to make that sustainable. And it's those measures that we're hoping people will come and tell us about. But also, I mean, the workshop should be fun. You know, the film is a lovely representation of people's views here. It doesn't just focus on turtles. We realize turtles aren't the most important issue on people's minds at the moment. There's a lot of things going on. So the film puts turtles in the context of life here in the Virgin Islands. So it talks a lot about what it's like to live here. So I think, you know, when people come to the workshops, they'll still see people on the film that they know talking about the things that they love. And I think they'll have a good time. So we're really hoping that people come along and have their say and tell us what they think about the whole issue.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you all for your time in coming to bring some awareness to this. And I know that it sometimes seems like a tall order, and I'm not sure if all of you here get the support that you rightfully deserve as it pertains to this matter, but I do wish you the continued best, and I'll make sure that my team and I stop by at one or two of the workshops so we too can learn as much as we can.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Most
Thank
welcome.
you for having us.
All right, viewers, I want to make sure that you are aware that the public meetings are beginning today, of course, and you are encouraged. The schedule will be posted on our website, so you want to make sure that you do that. Reporting for 284 News, I'm Ron Grant. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.